Hey everyone, Reid with Valor. The purpose of this video is to talk about how Marxists take over a nation. Let's go ahead and get started. I was born during the Cold War, so I grew up with the Soviet Union and other communist countries worldwide that were legitimately the enemy of the United States and to a large degree continue to be problematic inside of our own country's borders. You know, the oath to support and defend the Constitution says that you will support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And there's a reason why it put domestic enemies in there, because the founders knew that there would be people who would eventually one day try to undermine our constitutional republic from within it. Now, what we're going to see here in this video, and a lot of this stuff should sound familiar to you, or at least it should ring a bell or flash a light bulb in your eyes, because I know that you may have been paying attention to a lot of the same things that I have. Marxists always have a blueprint that they use. They may change the language here and there, but generally speaking, their methods always remain the same. They knew there could never be a violent overthrow of a country in the West. They knew that they couldn't do that. They knew that there'd be too many people that would be against them and stop it in their tracks. So what they eventually adopted, and this has been the case with Fabian socialism as well as Gramscian socialism, is they had a long-term methodology that they were going to use. And they knew that they could slowly indoctrinate younger generation. They knew older people were fixed in their ways, so they realized if we can just get younger people on board, then we can do this over a couple of generations. They weren't like the Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks were violent, nasty people in general. They ruled by terror and they threw all their political opponents in jail. Well, the other type of socialism is Fabian socialism or Gramscian socialism. They're very nefarious people. Like a disease that infects the body, they slowly do this over time and then convince the body to make more of them. So when we are here talking about this in a Marxist insurrection in the United States, understand this thing has been brewing for a long time. Yeah, people knew this back in the 50s. In fact, they knew it before then. There's a reason in the 1920s it was known as the Red Scare. It wasn't a scare, it was a reality. You had socialists coming in from all over the country, and for a large period of time, the United States stopped immigration from many parts of the world for that very reason. We had very minimal immigration from the 1920s until the 1960s for that very reason. Senator McCarthy in the 50s was on to a lot of things. He said that there were communists that were involved in the country. They were involved in the government. They were involved in the education system. They were starting to become involved in the religious institutions. Pastor Richard Wurmbrand talks about this in his book about how communists have infiltrated religious organizations. But generally speaking, these are the steps on how they seek to achieve their goal. Per Saul Alinsky himself, who was the major mover in the United States in bringing about a very rapid socialist revolution in his eyes, Alinsky said that one of the big methods to do this was to make the abnormal normal. In other words, morally degrade the population to accept things that they would have never accepted it before by simply repeating it over and over and over again and making it seem normal. So apply whatever situation that you want in the United States, what has been morally degraded in your eyes or your opinion, or what used to be abnormal is now all of a sudden accepted. And if you don't accept it, then you're like wrong and you should go to prison and jail and stuff like that. So I want you to consider what kind of behaviors that those are. The second thing that they seek to do is gain control of the media. Because if you gain control of the media, that means you gain control of the narrative. I mean, right here on YouTube, like they're censoring conservative videos all the time. I'm sure they'll censor this video with their little algorithms, but that's okay. This will get shared by a lot of people. You're seeing Facebook kick people off. You're seeing Twitter kick people off. It's all about narrative control. And they know if there's an opposition viewpoint, that more people will adopt the opposition viewpoint. They know that conservative and libertarian arguments are far more convincing than leftist arguments are, so they have to control the narrative. So what you're looking at is every major news organization, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, every single one of them has a leftist bent to it. And if this isn't true, then why are there no conservatives on CNN? Why are there no conservatives on CBS? Why are there no conservatives on any of the other major ones? You can say Fox. Look who Fox's major contributors are. Juan Williams, Donna Brazile, a woman who got caught piping questions to Hillary Clinton the day of a presidential debate, and she's somehow a Fox News person. This is insane. This is absolutely insane how the leftists control the narrative of the media, and it's not even reasonable. During 4 years, and they've done a study on this, during 4 years of Trump's presidency, it was 95% negative news coverage against Donald Trump. I wonder what the percent of negative coverage was for Barack Obama. The next thing they sought to do is infiltrate government. Well, this is clearly the case now, when you've got people in government that are extreme leftists and admitted socialists, guys like Bernie Sanders, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and her little idiot group of people. And this is a classic example of how this happens. They keep getting elected. They're from this little niche area of the country where everybody gets stuff for free, and then they keep getting reelected. And it's very hard to compete against Santa Claus. The next thing they sought to do is infiltrate the education system. I saw this firsthand. You say, well, what do you know about the education system, Reid? Well, let me give you my little tale of experience with it. I was a public school teacher for 3 years, so I taught in public school. And I worked with many, many people who are avowed leftists and socialists. I have 3 college degrees. I have 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree. I also completed all coursework for my doctorate. I just didn't want to pay $15,000 to write a 150-page paper, so I wrote 2 books instead. And the thing is, when I was in college, I saw these professors. I saw people who were admitted Stalinists, admitted Leninists. Like, they told me this to my face, that that's what they believed in, that they believed in socialism. These are college professors that are teaching children. And that's what they are. 18, 19-year-old, in my eyes, are children. They don't even know how to wipe their own ass half the time. And the thing is that when you look at all of these people, they actually believe what their professors tell them, and then they go home and repeat the same garbage. It's nothing more than leftist indoctrination camps. Many public schools across the country have suppressed any kind of religious views. Many schools across the country have suppressed any kind of conservative or libertarian arguments. Many schools across the entire country have suppressed much worse than that. And the colleges aren't even worth mentioning, because when you're talking literally over 90% leftist versus conservative in a professorship, and sometimes higher than that depending on the school, you're not talking about an education anymore. You're talking about an indoctrination. And of course, their final little piece that they like to do is disarm the population. And this is why leftists are such in favor of gun control. This is why they don't want you to have semi-automatic rifles or semi-automatic pistols. Because they know that if they disarm the public, if they disarm the population, that they will no longer have the means to fight back against them. And they will no longer have the means to do anything about it should they decide that they're going to implement their horrible policies. This is why our founding fathers put the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights to the Constitution of the United States. That's why it exists. And if you read the Federalist Papers, they're very clear about why the Second Amendment exists. Another problem that they have with firearms is that that allows people to have political dissent against them. And once you get rid of the guns, you can get rid of the political dissent against them. That means you can also suppress the First Amendment. That means now you get rid of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth, the Sixth, the Eighth, all and on down the road that we go, they can get rid of it. Because it's nothing but a piece of paper at that point. So they've got this wonderful little program in place, and it all seeks and hovers and orbits around control. They want to control you and remove choice from your life. They want to be the arbiters of power, and you will do what they say or they will grind you under their thumb. You don't want to fund their government? Put you in prison. You don't want to follow their laws? Put you in prison. You want to speak up against them? Put you in prison. You want to resist against them? Put you in prison. That is their dream. And that's why so many of their followers, to include the ex-Twitter CEO, talks about capitalists being put up against walls and shot. And if you think these people are the wacko fringes of their party, no, they're not. That's exactly what these people have always viewed people that are libertarian and conservative as. They look at them as scum. They look at them as people that need to be purged from society. They look at people like you and me, with this video. How dare he speak out against us? Well, I think we're at a point in our nation's history right now where the writing is on the wall, and we're going to go one of 2 ways. We're either going to maintain our constitutional republic, or they're going to bring about an Orwellian dystopia, the likes of which you couldn't have even imagined 10 years ago, much less 20 years ago. The Cold War has happened. The Cold War is still happening. It just so happened that it got colder closer to home than we could ever expect. If you found the information in the video helpful, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Facebook, that link is down below. And if you want to learn how to protect yourself against tyranny, to use that Second Amendment when needed, come on out to Valor Ridge and we can help you. This is Reid Henrichs at Valor Ridge reminding you, the lessons that we learn, written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.